What's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? That's right. The Boxing Source checking in here on this Sunday, May 7th, 2023 edition of the Boxing Source Radio Show. That's right. The host, James Bell, is here, and I have my special guest here, the man, the host of War of Week Radio Network, Mr. Joseph Heron. How you doing, Joseph?
Oh, it's great to be here once again, James. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed a big evening of boxing and the pageantry and the event in Mexico. Canelo's homecoming, brother. Did you enjoy all of the, very competitive fights? Great job of matchmaking by Eric Botcher of Matchroom Sports. And yeah, I really enjoyed all of the pageantry, the 150 mariachis, although I was disappointed. And I wanted to talk to you about that, James. We've seen some tremendous ring entrances outside of the U.S. Like ones that come to mind are Klitschko versus Hay in Germany. That was a very memorable one. Vitaly Klitschko versus Sam Peter with the holograms of all the ex-champions. Also thinking Prince Nassim Ahmed with his flying carpet. And then most recently on Cinco de Mayo of 2021 in Arlington, Texas, was Canelo Alvarez with Pepe Aguilar and his daughter singing all of the great traditional Mexican classics on Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders. And I was really hoping that this ring entrance for Canelo was going to be like somewhat of a passing of the torch with all of the Mexican legends there last night. Juan Manuel Marquez, Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera, especially the man, Julio Cesar Chavez. And you didn't see them participate in the ring entrance. I was really disappointed, but I still loved all the pageantry nonetheless. What were your thoughts on that? Was that a missed opportunity, you think?
I think, yeah, it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. You want to have that type of a homecoming. If, your first fight in Mexico and, over a decade, you wanted to, give a shout out to, all of the Mexican legends there in the sport of boxing. But, didn't really do that. But, he still kind of like went through the whole little, grand entrance with all of the, pageantry and things like that. I think that's something that, Canelo kind of like grasped from, at least one thing that he grasped from, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom is a whole thing with the grand entrances and stuff like that. And, ever since he was, signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, like having that, you talked about the Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders and his interest for that. Like he said that he was very impressed with all of that and all of the pageantry and stuff. So he kind of like he likes that type of thing. When going in to the ring. So
absolutely, man. And you know what, James? You know what, James? And I heard a lot of disgruntled fans. Oh, I didn't Oh, he's fighting a bum and he's fighting a cream puff and I don't even want to see this fight. Oh, he just doesn't fight the best in boxing. Brother, he just fought Dmitry Bivol last year. He just fought Gennady Golovkin last year. I know it's a 40-year-old Golovkin, but that 40-year-old Golovkin could still whip most top middleweights in the world. Like, what do they want from this guy? And John Ryder, he's a guy who earned this shot by getting past Danny Jacobs and Zach Parker. Arguably has should have had a victory over Callum Smith when he was still the Ring recognized lineal champ at 168.
Yep, right after.
What do they want from Canelo? It's obvious they're looking at just one opponent. That's it. Oh, you need to fight Gabe Benavidez, brother. What do they want from this poor guy? He has fought so many champions over the last 5 years. What do they want from him? It's very unfair. And look, if you're one of those guys that has fooled themselves into thinking that it's a more insightful way of looking at the sport by shitting on it consistently. Shame on you. Quite the contrary, you look like an ass. Look, this guy's a legend and a future Hall of Famer. And you have the opportunity to see him while he's still active. That's a reason to watch. That's a reason to celebrate these events. Shame on you, brother. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and the thing there with like you said with John Ryder, it's like every one of his fights basically has been very competitive. He's only lost by stoppage once, and I don't think people kind of like understand that. Like he actually, his first loss was against Billy Joe Saunders, but that was a really close fight. Back 10 years ago. So
yeah, James.
Like one of those things where you want to see who the next big, prospect is. That's pretty much what that fight was, and that was very close. And you see, what ended up happening with Billy Joe Saunders after that particular fight. And, John Ryder had basically had to, build his way back up from that particular point. So, I mean, he's had, that tough road to get to, at least to this particular point. You know what I'm saying? So,
once again, James, this is a product of just idiots who don't know what they're looking at and just look at his record.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 5 losses on his resume. Oh, well, dude, it's obvious you've never looked at any of his fights. And if you have, you don't know what you're looking at. Because this is one of the toughest guys in the division. This is a guy who has been learning on the job, came up the hard way. He is the UK's version of Orlando Salido. Okay? So once again, what I would like to see, right? I would like to see some of these other guys fight John Ryder now. Like, in my opinion, looking at as tough as he was, physically and mentally durable as he was last night, against arguably one of the hardest punchers in the division, if not the hardest. Right. I would love to see them in the ring with him. Because, look, and on Ryan Garcia, hope you watched last night and hope you're taking notes. That's how it's done. You don't quit. You're getting your ass whooped. You're taking a beating. Brother, suck it up. That's part of the job description.
Yep. I was about to say that. I was just about to say that. It's part of the game. That's part of boxing right there. And with John Ryder, having this fight against Canelo Alvarez, in Mexico, and like you said, you kind of like felt like it was going to be stoppage round 4 to 6, for Canelo Alvarez, and it almost was like that. He did score, big knockdown in round 5, and Ryder kind of like did his best to get through it and to hold on and things like that.
You know what? He not only just held on, he fought back.
Yeah, he fought back.
I really like the way he fended off that Canelo Alvarez, that shark smelling blood in the water. Mm-hmm. I love the way he fought back, even pushing back Canelo Alvarez, earning that respect, making it through the round. And obviously he had a hard time breathing. Boy, he had his nose broken as early as, I think he said the last looping right hand of round 2 broke his nose, right?
Yeah. And, you had that in round 2. You had the knockdown in round 5. He went through a few little rounds. I thought, within round 7 or 8, I know that they had like a knockdown that was ruled a slip at the end of round 9 or something like that. But there were like some times there where, Canelo was really, doing a number on John Ryder. And I was thinking like, hey, man, look, if it was, I know it's Mexico, but if it was UK and Howard Foster up in there, you probably would have stopped the fight. He got through all of that in those last couple of rounds. Ryder gave a valiant effort, but he was able to muster a couple of rounds from the judges on this scorecard. At least a couple of them. One judge, Jeremy Hayes, gave every round to Canelo Alvarez, so it ended up being a unanimous decision win for Canelo for him to retain his super middleweight championships. And it was kind of like a very good performance there from Canelo Alvarez, and a very valiant effort there from John Ryder. But we've kind of like hear the immediate reactions to it. Even John Ryder, kind of like gave his little thoughts on it too. That I mean, with Canelo Alvarez is, experienced as he is, he's had almost what has it been, 16, 17 years in the game or whatever it is. Actually, it's almost going to 18 years as a professional.
Yep.
And some people feel like, hey, after him scoring that knockdown on John Ryder in the 5th round, they thought, hey, he was going to finish him off, but he wasn't, quite, he didn't finish him off there. So they're like, hey, has Canelo kind of like, lost a step? Is he, off his game? Is it, rap? And, they even brought up, what he was talking about, on his own before the fight, like saying, hey, if I lose to John Ryder, then yeah, I'm done. But this has basically been the talk here over the past 12 hours or so.
Yeah, and I will say this. I've heard this. I've heard both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys saying, oh, he's definitely lost his step, and then guys heralding Canelo Alvarez for this. Oh man, he fought a much tougher guy than Caleb Plant. I mean, look at David Benavidez' last performance against Caleb Plant. That was a guy that Canelo not, just that stupid fan banter BS, right? Mm-hmm. Look, this was a dominant performance by Canelo Alvarez, guys. I didn't have him losing a round until maybe 11, in which he was coasting. Seemingly, and this is my biggest criticism of Canelo. He seemed to run out of gas and be complacent with the wide decision victory, giving up pretty much the last 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those are pretty much the only rounds you could give to John Ryder, and who was a real horse. That guy, there was no quitting him, right?
Yep.
And he was trying to fight back. Unlike Caleb Plant against Canelo. Once again, Caleb Plant, don't discount, even though he got knocked out by Canelo, he won a lot more rounds than John Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, this is a guy where both David Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez are fighting the elite of the division, both putting forth very impressive performances against everyone else in the division. These are they're, aside from David Morrell, they are hands down the 2 best fighters in the division. Let's get it on, guys.
Yeah.
This is the fight. But I will say this. If you think that Canelo's lost a step, it isn't by much, because no one has dominated John Ryder like that. No one has dominated John Ryder like that. I'll say it again. No one. So if he's lost a step, please explain how.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he was, able to, like Canelo was able to do his thing against Ryder, who, there was a southpaw. And, with me, when you see orthodox fighters against southpaw, I really look at where the foot positioning is for the lead foot on each of the fighters. And, Canelo made it a habit to, have his lead foot on the outside of Ryder's lead foot.
Most of the time, I will say this though, mm-hmm. Credit to John Ryder for understanding the dilemma. Because going into this fight, right, you don't dare just rush Canelo Alvarez. You don't dare just open up from mid to short range. Boy, mm-hmm. he's one of the best counterpunchers in boxing. And then you don't dare fight him the entire fight from mid to long range. You're not going to land anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because he's blessed with some of the best reflexes in boxing.
Right.
And he's one of the most defensively responsible fighters in boxing because of those reflexes and because of his ability to move his upper body and head. Yeah. So I thought John Ryder did a very good job of mixing strategies, fighting him in the pocket and some during part of the round, moving back, showing him different angles, and on the occasion where he was able to get that outside front foot, pivoting around Canelo after he fired off a combination.
Yeah,
I thought John Ryder made a very good account of himself. Once again, if Canelo's slipping, please explain how.
Yeah, and the thing, with what you said about Canelo's ability, he's one of the better counter punchers in the game. He is a very, very good catch and shoot type of fighter. And, during the fight, or at least in the early parts of the fight, you had the commentators in there talk about, John Ryder is fighting off his back foot. Like, he should go ahead and, he's a, front foot type of guy. He's an aggressor. Like, why isn't he doing it, trying to be the aggressor? And it's because of Canelo's ability to catch and shoot. He'll have a high guard and come right back at him, with a couple of, like, he could throw off a combination and that could, really hurt John Ryder. So Ryder's not really going to go forward and take that particular risk because he knows the consequences of if he misses, on his shots like that. So he wasn't really, forthcoming when it came to, trying to be the aggressor because he already knew beforehand that Canelo, has that type of ability to, really, catch and then come right back at you. So he wasn't gonna, do that. So what he was doing in those first couple of rounds, that was kind of good to, try to see where Canelo Alvarez was at as far as like his, overall activity and stuff like that goes. So I think he kind of like fought that a little bit well. It was just that Canelo's ability to like be precise in a lot of his punches and set up a lot of his shots. He could do, the double left and then the right over the top, or he could, do a fake and then hit the body. So he kind of mixes his, offensive game up to.
Yeah, he's really a very, very creative combination puncher, and it's very hard to anticipate where they're going to be coming from. And I really thought it was masterful how we set up that knockdown in the fifth. Yeah. In fact, I thought he was going to get him out of there, to be honest. Credit to John Ryder for being a real horse, man. Yep. But I love the way he set it up. And you look at the rounds prior, he's throwing that hard, and that was the shot that broke his nose at the end of the second round, that looping right hook around the guard of John Ryder, and it landed enough times, obviously, where it got the attention to where he saw the shoulder moving of Canelo, put that left hand up, Canelo shot the straight right through the guard, and that's how he set it up by landing enough of those right hands around the guard. John Ryder obviously thought that was going to be the shot that was coming, put his left hand up to the side, and in comes a straight right hand down the chute. Masterfully done by Canelo Alvarez, and John Ryder never saw it coming. Brilliant job. Brilliant job by Canelo Alvarez. Once again, guys, this was a very high-level, brutal, high-level chess match, and I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. Canelo's lost a step. This was a very, very tough man who no one has ever dominated like this. Even though he's got 5 losses on his resume, go look him up. Go look him up.
Yep, that's the thing is, go through his resume, go through, who he's fought, and then, in some of these cases, like you say, you could pretty much go through the highlights or, most of the highs and lows of each of those fights, and you can see that, John Ryder is a very competitive fighter there in the super middleweight division. So tough guy.
I thought he made a very good account of himself, James, and I would like to see him again against some of the other elite of 168. I would love to see him against Dave Morrell, to be honest with you. Use that as a measuring stick. If Dave Morrell is not capable of getting the Canelo fight, if he's not capable of getting the Dave Benavidez fight, yeah, I would love to see him fight John Ryder as soon as that nose heals.
Right? Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight either. That would be something there for Morrell to like at least have something while he waits for what happens with either a David Benavidez or a Canelo Alvarez. But I want to bring in another great contributor to the Boxing Source movement here. Checking in from Atlanta. You know him, the Boxing Academic is in the building. What's going on, Boxing Academic?
Not much. How you guys doing, Joseph, JR?
How you doing, my brother? Good to see you.
Yeah. Good to talk with you guys.
All right.
I had one comment to what Joseph said. I do agree that John Ryder made a great account of himself, and it's a testament of someone not allowing the physical pain to overtake their will, because you could tell.
Yep.
He once he realized that he could stay in there, he was like, I am not finna give up in this fight.
Yep.
And it's refreshing to see that, given the last couple weeks where we had people who who don't have that, and they may not have it now. Actually, they do have it. They have that inside of them. They could do exactly what he did, but they just got to be willing to hone in and lean into that, walk through fire and risk getting burnt. Now, the one thing I will say, to a certain point, our will can only take us so far. So, I personally think that even though he made it out of that fight, that is way too much punishment for the human body to be taken, because he was taking shots.
Yeah,
way too clean,
getting busted up, buddy. And you know what though? Maybe we've been desensitized because 20 years ago, that was what was expected of our normal prize fighters. A guy fighting for undisputed, right?
Right.
Like, you had to be willing to walk through fire. Like, think about Diego Corrales versus Jose Luis Castillo for the unified 135-pound championship. This is a guy who was on the verge of getting knocked out. Once again, trying to think of anything to buy himself some time. And he learned this from Asalina Freitas the fight before, who kept on spitting his mouthpiece. He said, that's a good tactic. If I get in trouble, I'm going to use that. And he sure did in the 10th round of that fight. And it bought him enough time. Referee Tony Weeks taking a point away on top of the 2 knockdowns. And Joe Goossen's advice was, well, you better effing get inside on him now. You've got no choice, buddy.
Yep.
And that's exactly what he did. Landed that left hook, got the better of the exchange, and then in steps Tony Weeks, walks through fire to get those ribbons.
Yeah.
And that's what's expected. That's what's expected from champions. Guys fighting for that championship at this level. That's what's expected of you. And think of the memories that we still remember that fight. And that was almost 20 years ago.
18 years ago to the day.
That's it. That's almost 20 years ago, guys. And we still have our breath taken away whenever we watch that 10th round again. That's why we're fans. Damn it, that's why we're fans. We don't become fans, and we don't make new fans by seeing a guy quit on his stool. Ryan Garcia, if you think you made new fans, think again, buddy. I guarantee you, John Ryder, even in loss, even though he lost probably 10 rounds of that 12-round contest and got busted up, I guarantee you people want to see him fight again.
Yeah.
And it's definitely because of the other intangibles. The man was in shape. You got to give him that to be able to take that punishment, get knocked down, and get right back on up. And once he made up his mind to pass round 6 or whatever, when he could tell Canelo was slowing down just enough for him to at least land some shots, he was like, I'm just gonna go for it. If I get beat going for it, then I get beat going for it. And you could just tell that switch was flipped in his mind where he just said, I'm about to go for it.
So, but let me ask you something, boxing academic. After getting knocked down, did you see a strategy or game plan in which John Ryder was trying to win the fight, or was he merely trying to make the finish line?
He was trying to make the finish line to some extent, but Canelo helped him in that, Canelo
was Canelo after round 10, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah. So he helped him in terms of his win. But you're right. So you're absolutely right, Joseph, in that he was literally trying to survive. He wanted to just get past the encounter in those middle rounds, and then at some point, round 8, round 9, whatever it was, when he started landing, he landed like 3 uppercuts or 3 whatever type of shots on Canelo, and they were like heavy shots. And it slowed Canelo's momentum down just enough, and you could see, like, Canelo does very good disguising shots that buzz him. And, him doing those neck exercises, you don't see his head snap back very often, except for when he fights B-Ball. But
What neck?
Other than B-Ball,
the guy's one big trap.
One big trap, exactly. Which means that he can take them shots without his brain shaking more than it has to. Indeed. But besides B-Ball and besides maybe Floyd Mayweather on counter shots where he catch him off guard in a sense, you don't see Canelo's head just fly all over the place when he get hit with big shots. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Ryder was trying to survive, and then he saw that he could do more than survive and at least pick up the pace. And I think he realized, I'm gonna have to knock him out to win, and then he just started throwing more shots. He wasn't going to win the fight, but he at least tried,
Yeah.
I thought it was a very gallant performance. And once again, bravo to both men. And I tell you what, I thought John Ryder made a very good account of himself, even in loss. And I would love to see him fight again against any of the top 168 pounders. Bravo, brother. Well done. Oof, that's a hard way to make a living, though, isn't it?
It is very hard. But the one thing that I will just reiterate again is only so much the human body, it's only so much your will can take you before your body quits before your mind does. And I don't see Ryder being able to do that too much more. Like the type of punishment that just him getting hit so often and so much, and just, I'm glad the man wasn't dehydrated, because that's the type of fight that somebody, like, unfortunately, bad stuff happened if they dehydrated. So I'm glad that wasn't an issue with him, and at least I hope it wasn't. But I don't know, man. Him on the other end of this, and he started fighting better. He started fighting just as good fighters and stuff. I think it's going to be a different outcome. It's going to be the same outcome when the people face Deontay Wilder, and then they fight similar level of competition after that. The same outcome when people face Errol Spence, then they fight similar level of competition after that. Their body can't handle it no more.
Yeah, you know what? That very well might be the case. We'll have to wait and see. I guess the advice that you would give John Ryder is, take at least 6 to 8 months off. Well, you took a beating before you're even back in the gym.
Right.
Like, take a nice long vacation. Let your body, let your brain heal, let everything heal. And don't even think about sparring. Don't even think about coming back. You can stay in shape by doing some road work, but don't even think about stepping foot in the gym again until about 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. And that's going to be the thing, is with him having that type of, lengthy recovery, that's going to put him out for probably could end up being for the rest of the year. So we'd have to see what happens if he gets in either by the end of this year or in 2024 after this. But, on the flip side there for Canelo Alvarez, he's there. He defends those super middleweight titles. And people are saying, like, okay, what's next? We've heard from...
But James, you have yet to ask the boxing academic the $1 million question, the title of this show.
Oh, yeah. So, boxing academic, with what you've seen from Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan, has Canelo lost a step?
I mean, we knew Canelo lost a step 4 or 5 fights ago. But with Canelo and his team are good in that A, he has the ability to choose his own adventure. And B, with choosing his own adventure, more times than not, he can choose a style that is amenable to making him look good. And if Bivol wasn't so strong in a sense, like bigger, strong, and dare I say it, probably even faster, then that would have been a different story on paper, right? But Bivol,
wholeheartedly disagree. That is the worst possible style matchup for Canelo Alvarez. And once again, anyone, and you look throughout his record, his tenure, anyone who has an intelligent jab will always disrupt the timing and rhythm of the prolific counterpuncher and really freeze him. You look at Golovkin with the intelligent jab he has. You look at Saunders for the short time he was in the ring, or for the time he was in the ring with him with that intelligent jab. You look at Mayweather. You look at Lara. And Bivol will couple that with his footwork as well as his height and reach. Boy, that is just all wrong for and that's why Bivol really wants this rematch. And at 168, where it means something for him, he could become a 2-division world champion and the undisputed champion of 168 in his first fight down there. This is why he really wants this fight. This is all wrong for Canelo Alvarez. In my opinion, he should just roll the bones. And you talk about, and I love the way you put that, boxing academic here. Very good, dude. He gets to choose his own adventure. I love that. That's great. Very well done. And you're absolutely right. Being the money man in the division, he's got that luxury. But if he wants to continue to be the money man in that division, bro, quality of opposition matters. You can't just fight cupcakes or fights that you're heavily favored in. People will eventually lose interest.
I agree.
Okay? So you're going to have to roll the bones at some point and do it now. Strike while the iron's hot right now. Can you think of another fight that would produce comparable numbers to Davis Garcia other than Canelo versus Benavidez?
Yeah. No other matchup that Canelo could possibly have pick up close to the numbers that he would be able to have against Benavidez, and
it'll be a lot more exciting than quite a few other fights that he could have. Can I rebuttal one part that Joseph said? So I agree with you in all of the tangibles and intangibles that you name for B-ball. What I was saying, or what I was trying to say, was that when you take so the other guys that you named on that list that Canelo knocked out or got to eventually, Saunders, he had success, some moderate success earlier. He frustrated Canelo, and then Canelo got to him, lights out, the fight over with.
Yep.
What I'm saying is, on paper, they expected that same mold to work in Canelo's favor. But the fact that, like you said, the man had good feet, he had good length, he had good size as compared to Canelo, and he had good strength and speed. He had good everything.
Oh, that intelligent jab there, brother, is the biggest reason why it befuddled Canelo Alvarez. And once again, I'll explain, and you already know this, but just for anyone listening, I'll explain. When you're a counterpuncher by trade, if you're an opponent looking at someone like that, you had better, in the immortal words of Teddy Atlas, put some bugs on the windshield, and you had better not make things so predictable for your counterpunching opponent. So what he does extremely well, Bivol, is he will, forgive me, guys, my friend is driving his Harley, bastard. Anyway, what he will do is he will use touch jabs, feints, and hard sticking jabs to the body, chest, and head, and use it in disjunct intervals. Mix up the intervals so he doesn't know when he's going to let his hands go. You saw Alexander Usyk do that brilliantly against Anthony Joshua twice. You saw Tyson Fury do that brilliantly against Deontay Wilder 3 times. And that's exactly what Bivol did. And that's what gives the counterpuncher so much trouble. And it forces him to adopt a new strategy and move forward behind the high guard and try to become uncharacteristically the effective aggressor. And it never was able to work out for Canelo Alvarez. And honestly, I can't see him doing anything differently against Dimitri Bivol.
And again, I think this still goes in line with my point. If that same thing, they have different styles, but if Saunders tries to do that same thing, it wouldn't work, as we know. He would get caught 9 times out of 10 somewhere in the middle of that fight. But the odds are is that Bivol can do enough things to confuse Canelo, to make Canelo uncomfortable, to make Canelo do uncharacteristic things, and like win the fight. Like Canelo gonna have to get to him.
Best of luck. Best of luck. I will say this, and the reason why I brought up Billy Joe Saunders, there were a lot of people who believed leading up to the eventual coup de grace, which made the judges' scorecards absolutely worthless, right? But leading up to that point, a lot of people, including some of the commentators on DAZN, felt that Billy Joe Saunders was winning that fight.
Yeah.
That's why I brought him up.
Yeah. But I mean, it was the jab of Billy Joe Saunders at that time that threw off the rhythm of Canelo Alvarez until he got to the point where he could reach Billy Joe Saunders. And then once he was able to reach him, then that, kind of like, was the beginning of the end. But Bivol just really didn't have that particular point where Canelo could reach him and, really get back at him with an effective counterpunch or, with any effective combinations. That's why you've seen him basically getting frustrated in the tail end of those fights, because he wasn't able to, set up Bivol to, get to him at that point. And so with the, the jabs and the timing of those jabs of Bivol was really frustrating Canelo, especially with the lack of Canelo's head movement there on that. So, as far as like that is a potential rematch, like, I don't know if Canelo should go for that. And, Mike Carpenter had spoken with, both of those guys. And, Canelo said that for that rematch, he said that he wants the same terms as the last fight.
What did I say, brother?
And we'll get into that too. Like, what's the same terms, everything in reference to what happened in the last fight. The goal is to have the rematch with Bivol in the same terms. And Bivol says, like, hey, we fought at 175 and he won at 175. So I'm willing to take
now this dude thinks he's going to be dictating terms to Canelo.
168, because it's the motivation for me to try to fight for all the titles at 168. So why should I do the rematch at 175? Now, this is a funny thing about what Bivol said, right? It's funny that he wants to go for all of those titles at 168, but he doesn't want to go through for all of those titles at 175. That's number one, right? And number two is, and this is a funny thing, at 175, if he had to fight against Artur Beterbiev, we had those comments last week from the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman, saying that, if they had that fight, the WBC title wouldn't be on the line because of a whole little war thing with the Ukraine. Well, but what about if Bivol faces Canelo and Bivol is Russian? So
you know what? I could say this. Perhaps that's Canelo's ace in the hole in case the fight does happen, because go back in time. Remember Zab Judah before he fought Floyd Mayweather for the undisputed, right? So it was supposed to be undisputed welterweight championship, and then he got his ass whooped by the Argentine. Yeah,
I don't mention his name.
Okay, the Argentine, right?
Yep.
And so, he was still the champ because the IBF title wasn't on the line that night.
Yeah.
So he was still, right? He was still the champ. Technically, perhaps that's Canelo's ace in the hole. He is so let's say he fights people 68, gets his ass whooped again. Technically, he's still the WBC champ.
Maybe, I guess, that could kind of work out that way. But like you said, man, this whole back and forth about if they want to fight at 175 or 168 and you want to have it on these terms, or if Bivol wants a little bit more on his side. Yeah, I think that's going to end up being a nothing burger in Canelo. Shout out to
nothing
Juice
burger
on the live chat. It says salute to the Boxing Source panel in chat. I think Canelo facing Berlanga is more likely than imagined after last night's performance. Now, I didn't mention, Edgar Berlanga, who is a signee of Matchroom Boxing, has a, fight coming up himself. In that, people are, kind of like saying that, hey, they may want to set up that Mexico versus Puerto Rico type of thing there. With
no, dude, no. Once again, like I said, look, you're already looking at disappointing pay-per-view numbers last night. Right. People predicting or projecting, everyone in this business, I'll be very surprised if he exceeds 315,000 purchases. This is going to be by far his lowest pay-per-view since fighting Beefy Smith 7 years ago, right?
Yep.
Okay, so everyone's already projecting that. Brother, if you expect it's going to take a lot more than pomp and circumstance before the fight, it's going to take a lot more than an expensive pageantry to make you the face of boxing. If you want to withhold and remain with that distinction, boy, you're going to have to fight some opponents that people want you to fight. Now, once again, guys, one, quality of opposition matters. Two, guys, it's the real bosses of boxing who determine super fights. It's the demand from the real bosses of boxing, the fans. If the fans demand it, damn it, if you want to be the real face of boxing, you've got to respect the bidding or the walking orders, the marching orders of the fans. They are your boss, damn it. So if you really want to be the face of boxing, okay, well, it's going to have to take a lot more than 150 mariachis. You're going to have to do the biddings of your boss, the fans.
And the fans want the fight between him and David Benavidez. Of course, Benavidez, a WBC interim champion, still undefeated. And to me, that is by far the most lucrative fight that is out there right now for Canelo Alvarez. I think that like it would be the best matchup there, of course, in the super middleweight division. It would be their number one versus number two at super middleweight. And like, I don't see like anything else where or any other direction that Canelo Alvarez should go at this particular point, So why not go ahead and have that fight against David Benavidez? You say that you're Canelo Alvarez, you could go wherever you please. You've had that fight against Caleb Plant, in order for you to win these undisputed super middleweight titles. And we saw how successful that particular event was. So why not go back and do it once again against David Benavidez? And,
look, with that said, with what I just said, James, you also have to understand, guys, fans, even though you are indeed the real bosses of boxing, come on, guys. If you really want to see these guys have a long, storied career, you can't expect all of these guys to fight behemoth after behemoth after behemoth. No one has done it throughout history, not even the guys you consider legends. Back when you consider boxing to be, it was a real sport back then. You look up Sugar Ray Leonard's resume. He never fought beast after beast after beast. He always fought someone in the interim. He never fought 5, 6 Goliaths in a row. You can't do that if you want to stay active. So guys, give him a pass and, understand the game. He fought John Ryder. This was a very good litmus test in which you saw a hard-nosed, genuine, legitimate contender give a really great account of himself and really push Canelo Alvarez to the limit. Okay? Once again, you can't expect any of these guys to fight Goliath after Goliath after Goliath. That's unreasonable. And you look throughout history, it's never been done. And I tell you what, in the immortal words of Eddie Futch, if someone does take that approach, in the immortal words of Eddie Futch, they're going to have a short but glorious career.
Keyword is short, though. Keyword is short.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So once again, guys, use your brain. You guys are the real bosses of boxing, but if you want promoters and fighters to respect what your demands are, be reasonable. Be reasonable. They are human indeed.
Yep. So it'll be some time there, but before we see Canelo Alvarez in the ring, if it's going to be in September, then so be it. But we just got to wait it out and then see what his next fight is going to be. But yeah, the expectations of boxing fans today, we kind of have very, very high expectations for every single fighter there that's at the top of the division. But it's like, okay, either do you want them to stay active or do you want them to fight the best of the best, every single time? And it's like, you can't have both. You can't.
I will say this, James. I will say this. Do you remember Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
I have a golden ticket.
Yep. Do you remember the little brat who wanted the golden goose?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what a lot of these boxing fans who are unreasonable. So that's what they sound like. You guys sound like Veruca Salt. A bunch of Veruca Salts. I want it now. You shut your ass. You're being unreasonable. Now, those guys, guys who act like that are unreasonable. They just want to see blood for mere ribbons, right? Those guys, promoters don't listen to you guys. Once again, be reasonable and understand that these are physical human athletes that are taking punishment for your entertainment. And if you think that's not the case, well, maybe move on and try the NBA on for size instead.
Yeah.
So I have a question to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So you said some fans are unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Is it unreasonable to expect Terence Crawford to fight Errol Spence? Is that unreasonable?
Oh my gosh, dude. You know what? Once again, I'm going to ask you this. Have you seen Terence Crawford fight Goliath after Goliath after Goliath after Goliath? Far from it, right?
I was about to say no. No, I have not.
No way in hell, dude. That's being nice, just saying no, right? Brother, it's high time he puts his big daddy pants on and stops posturing, stops demanding too much at the negotiation table, and signs a damn contract already. And once again, James, you've already heard the same stories that I have. You're in this business.
Yep.
It's the same shit again.
Each time, man.
I know you're getting ready to say Charlie, so that's going to be the end of it. But yeah. Guys, if you must know, Charlie is our safety word. As soon as I start pulling a Paulie Malignaggi and start going nuts, that's his safety word to reel me back in. And thank you, James, for being so kind. So if you hear the word Charlie get spattered, throughout this show, that's what we're referring to, guys.
Yeah.
It's my timeout.
Yeah, that thing in reference to Mr. Terence Crawford. Apparently they had some conversations, Mr. Crawford and Mr. Errol Spence. But for me, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be going anywhere, man. Back on to the, just quick highlights from that card that was on his own. You also had Julio Cesar Martinez defend his WBC flyweight title against Ronaldo Batista and was able to score a TKO victory over Ronaldo Batista to retain that WBC flyweight title. Hopefully they might have something with him and Sonny Edwards. And also, you do have the WBO champion, Jesse Ben Rodriguez, who is a WBO champion.
That's a great fight.
He is a great fight. Up from, an injury from that last fight where he was able to win that vacant WBO title. So
I will say this.
To make those fighters up.
I will say this. I really like Celestino Ruiz as a ref, but that was a BS stoppage in the 11th, brother. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, look, Batista, he was going to lose that fight.
Right.
But at least give him the opportunity and make the final bell.
Come
on, man. He had already put forth a gallant performance. He had already taken a beating. He had already been, letting his balls hang in the ring. Let him finish the fight, damn it.
Yeah, if Celestino Ruiz was a referee in the main event, then you probably would have saw a TKO victory for Canelo Alvarez. You probably would have seen it for him, man. But yeah, Martinez, gets that win. Is still the WBC flyweight champion. So we'll see what happens next for Martinez there in the flyweight division. Also, you had Gabriel Valenzuela get a split decision win over Steve Spark there at the 140-pound division. And then you also had Alexander Gvozdyk back in the ring there against Richards Blatnick, scoring a 6-round TKO victory there. So those are like the main highlights from that card in Mexico out there. Some may, be familiar with Steve Spark, who, had a win over Montana Love by disqualification when Montana Love, wanted to, participate in over the top rope battle royal. But that's neither here nor there. But that kind of like sums up that particular card, man.
Let me ask you something. You something, brother. And once again, the real standout, and I'd like to ask this question. Look, in my opinion, and I'm just going to make a guess here. If you don't see, Dimitri Bivol able to get that fight, don't be shocked if you see Alexander Gvozdyk get that opportunity against his countryman, Dimitri Bivol, because that is a great fight. Now, I know Gvozdyk has to work his way up through a ranking system, and I don't understand that one bit, because this guy is a former unified champion who retired after losing that distinction. But there's no shame in getting knocked out by Arthur Beterbiev, and that was a fight that he was winning on the scorecards. Where would you rank Alexander Gvozdyk right now at 175?
Like within that, the 5 to 8 range right now. He had that win over.
Look. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
So he will be high in those WBA rankings. And the thing is, I would favor him over at least one other guy that's rated number 2 in the WBA rankings, and Dan Aziz. So I'm like, hey, why not have Gvozdyk there against Dimitri Bivol?
Hey, I'm sorry, brother. Alexander Gvozdyk, the way he looked last night, his footwork, his punch selection, he just bludgeoned Ricards Blatniks, a customarily tough guy. He whooped his ass. I would love to see him take on Dimitri Bivol. That is an elite level matchup right there. Two guys with deep amateur backgrounds two guys who are elite level practitioners. Sign it up. DAZN, you're working with both guys. Put together that fight, and the winner faces Arthur Beterbiev. Okay, well, no more of this. Oh, that's not a reason. That's not a serious offer. Screw yourself, brother. and once again, what did you think of that decision with Gabriel Colas Valenzuela, the guy from Guadalajara, edging out Stevie Spark in a very, very riveting contest?
That was pretty surprising to me, man. I thought that Spark, of course, coming off that particular momentum there against Montana Love, where, for me, honestly, I felt like he was, getting the better of Montana Love up to that point, so he, I thought he was, kind of like riding high off that and could have, had himself a good little run to try to make himself a contender there in the 140-pound division there. But, having that, this fight, that was a good back and forth fight there with
loved it.
Valenzuela, and ended up
like I said, I thought Eric Botcher did an amazing job, right? I thought he did a brilliant job being the matchmaker for these contests. And you know what? It's a stark contrast compared to what we saw Cinco de Mayo with the Billy Joe Saunders card in Arlington. This was a great fight, not only for everyone watching at home, but for everyone in attendance. And all I have to say is that Stevie Spark, welcome to Guadalajara, Mexico, brother.
Yeah. Yep. That was a big welcome there for him against the countryman there from Guadalajara. I mean, you're fighting a guy that's from Guadalajara, man. If you accepted that fight.
And the brother, if you get knocked down, that's what happens. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's that. Hey, they had that common opponent there, Montana Love, too. So, I don't know, man. Maybe Valenzuela could end up, or Montana Love could end up fighting one of those guys in a rematch. Who knows there? But, I thought that was...
Hey, brother, what did you think? And I have to bring this up, man, because what did you think of Regis Prograis announcing his signing with Matchroom Sport during the event? Eddie Hearn beating his chest, saying that they're excited and this is one of the best signings that they've had in a while. Who does he fight? And obviously he's fighting
Liam Perro.
I'm sorry?
Liam Perro.
Liam Perro. What do you think of that fight? And what do you think of the future of Regis Prograis at Matchroom Sport? And once again, he talks a good game and says, we'll be able to work with anyone to get the best fights at 140 for you.
Nah.
But is that the reality? Does he have a good working relationship at this time with Top Rank or PBC?
Nope. He does not. And, my thing is like people kind of like, expected this type of a thing there, but I felt like I really felt like Regis Prograis could have signed with Top Rank, man. I really felt like that was his intention. He knew what was there in front of him with Top Rank. He knew what fights he could have gotten there with Top Rank. He was, talking a lot in reference to, trying to go after, of course, Ramirez. And you could have had the possibility of facing, Josh Taylor once again. Or if it does happen, maybe if Teofimo Lopez gets a win over Josh Taylor, then you could have had that particular fight. But he was like, no, he didn't necessarily, go that route. So now he's here at Matchroom, and he has, like a Liam Perro, who's undefeated, is ranked number 3 in the WBO right now. But
I will say this, James.
At
Matchroom, he's definitely the big swinging dick in the room. Because would that necessarily be the case at PBC or at Top Rank?
No.
Now, keep in mind, guys, you got a lot of contenders at PBC at Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
And, boy, that's on a much more widely recognized mainstream network, right? Like, it's funny. I asked my neighbor last night before I did my broadcast, who's an avid sports fan. I said, hey, guys, you going to watch the Canelo fight? They said, oh, Canelo's fighting. That's mistake number one, right? They didn't even know Canelo was fighting last night.
Right.
And I said, yeah, of course he's fighting John Ryder. What channel? Boom. I said, it's on DAZN. They said, what's DAZN?
Yeah.
That's a problem, guys.
Yeah,
that's a problem. That's what Regis Prograis just did.
Mm-hmm.
He just signed with a streaming platform that, unless you're a diehard fight fan, you have no idea what the hell that is.
Right. And, you know, the thing is, like, with the streaming type of platform and the apparatus and things, like, you know, people, like, the general public is still used to the whole thing with, you know, cable networks and that type of stuff, because they've been used to that for decades and decades. They haven't really fully converted over to streaming network as of yet. So
and by the way, for the customers that got in with them when they first started and had that price, they raised that price up.
Dude, we're having to pay $25 a month now, brother.
Yep, up to
and it used to be $100 per year.
Exactly.
Which came out to a little over $8 per month.
Yep.
Never more. That's after yesterday's fight. Never more.
And now, not only have they jacked up the price per month, we have to pay for pay-per-views.
Yep.
What the hell?
So that's
let me put this in its proper perspective, James.
All
Disney Plus, brother.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much is that bundle for Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu?
Let's just have it DAZN.
It's less than $20 a month, guys. And you're getting all three of those channels. You mean to tell me you expect people in America, after getting these bundled deals, Paramount Plus and Showtime, how much per month are those? Less than $20. I think it's $14.99 right now. In fact, I think they're running a special right now for $9.99. Right? Yep. And you're expecting U.S. sports fans to pay $25 for Williams Zepeda against a mismatch? And then if they want to see Canelo, you're going to charge them more money.
Yep.
Really? Really? No wonder you guys have less than 1 million subscribers still in the American market.
And it'll still be that way. It's going to stay that way, and because you got to understand competition within the market. And when you're, you know, fully, like I said, a fully digital platform, you can't really get at these customers with that type of a price point. Like, you should have stuck with the whole $9.99 type of stuff, and you would have, you know, had more success on it. Like, I mean, for me, like, charging that particular price point, you would have to like say, hey, we're gonna have a full-fledged team. We're gonna, you know, have cameramen.
Movies.
It is like that, like how Showtime has their stuff and ESPN has their stuff. Like, you're gonna have to have that in order to, you know, justify that type of a price point. But you don't have that. You still don't have that. So why would you charge those customers that type of a price there for that product? It doesn't work here in the U.S. market, especially now in this time of economic status. So yeah, that's not gonna necessarily work there. But back to the thing there with Mr. Regis Prograis and his plans there to be with Match.
Oh no! See, hold on, dude. I was wrong. I was wrong. The Disney bundle trio, right, is only $12.99 per month.
Oh,
and you get Disney Plus, ESPN Plus with all the boxing and MMA, and then you get Hulu with no ads. Like, $12.99, brother.
Yep. Like, come on, man. Like,
DAZN? What the heck?
How are you going to compete with that, man?
Gosh, that's just silly. That's silly. And then they still charge you for pay-per-views. Not
a good look, buddy. Not a good look. And those pay-per-views are priced higher than the pay-per-views on ESPN Plus. Basically.
Yeah, with that said, on May 20th, we're going to have to pay for a pay-per-view. What is 50 bucks?
$50.
$49.99.
Yep.
For Lomachenko versus Devin Haney.
Yep.
But those pay-per-views are very rare, few and far in between, right?
Yep.
But I will say this, for that fight, yeah, I'll be happy to send FightSaga.com the invoice. Woo! I tell you what, guys, I cannot wait for that fight. The only drawback is I'm going to be doing ring announcing that night at the Techport Arena in San Antonio, Texas. It's going to be a TMB card with the return of El Castigo, Ricky Medina, in the main event of the evening. So let's hope my voice heals in 2 weeks, because that's the only thing I'm concerned with, guys. But Boxing Academic, your final thoughts, brother, on last night's card. Once again, Canelo Alvarez, where do you think he goes from here? And do you believe that he's lost a step? Or do you think a lot of people are overreacting? And I know you stated that you thought he lost a step several fights ago. Is he remained the same, or is he lost? Is he fallen even further in your mind?
I think with the right, he's definitely lost a step as of a few fights ago. And you know, he's an older fighter. His wind is. Did he have better wind? I feel like at some point he improved his wind, and then maybe after the Mexican beef. And stuff. I'm just messing with you. I'm joking.
Brother, he's relatively young in the division. He's only 32 years old, but I understand after all the wars he's been in, the wear and tear of all of those camps. It looks like it may be starting to take its toll. Or is this just a product of him being maybe a little gun shy because of that surgically repaired right hand, and it's his first fight back?
Well, I think the commonality in his last 4 or 5 fights. So what I will say, he jabbed a bit more than I remember him jabbing, at least in the last 2 or 3 fights. And so I think once he realized, when he threw the jab just a few more times, the right hand was a lot easier to be landed. So he did throw the jab more, but in other fights, all he does is just, move to the side, walk in with his hands high, move to the side.
Consider this, though. He was fighting a much more stationary target in this fight. Consider his last several opponents. It's been Caleb Plant, Dimitri Bivol, and Billy Joe Saunders. 3 guys who use the entire ring extremely well, have great footwork. And then now you've got John Ryder basically sitting in front of you for most of the fight, occasionally electing to pivot around you, occasionally moving outside, but really not having to cut off the ring and seek and destroy this guy. Like it's a huge, much different contrast of styles. So just by looking at that, would you say people are maybe overreacting that he's slipped?
Again, I think it depends on who he fights. If he fights a boxer who does not have enough power to keep him off of him, it's going to always be the same story. Canelo going to get to him by round 6. And if they don't have enough wind to stay away from him, he going to get to them by round 7. Now, if he fights a boxer, someone who can control distance very well, someone who has elite elite endurance, and then they powerful enough to just keep him honest, he gonna have trouble. It's the style to me. It depends on the style.
Very good, brother. I tell you what, James, your final thoughts on this before we start looking ahead to this weekend.
Yeah, it's like a boxing academic said. The matchups are everything in this one, and also other circumstances like ring size, so to speak.
Oh, how did you like the 18 by 18 foot ring last night, brother? That was a shoebox, man.
Yeah, it was. In comparison to most other fights that we've seen recently. So, ring size definitely is a factor. But like I said, in reference to like the thing with Bivol and other fighters that Canelo has fought, like Saunders and Caleb Plant, they have a very good jab. So it's all about how Canelo deals with the jab and how he's able to work off of that to see what he does against his opponent. Now, if he does fight someone like a David Benavidez, Benavidez isn't necessarily known too much there for his jab. So he really has a very good shot of trying to get to David Benavidez there. But it's just something that remains to be seen. I would rather want to see that particular fight in the fall than against a Dimitri Bivol or any other fighter that they may come up with in that sense. But at the same token, we got to see like how Alvarez adjusts to these type of fighters. Like I said a while ago, you're talking about a guy that's been in the game for 18 years as a professional. So it's a lot of wear and tear. At the end of the day, it's a lot of wear and tear on a fighter. No matter how good they are, no matter how much experience they have, there's still a lot of wear and tear that you have on a fighter. So
indeed,
it's all about how they react to the fighters there that they have across the ring. So I say it's up and down there, boxing academic.
I think Canelo fights off the back foot against Benavidez and walks Benavidez into shots.
Well, of course, that's going to be his fight plan, obviously. That's your forte. And once again, if this fight happens tomorrow, if with everyone proclaiming that, Canelo's lost a step, guys, considering the style matchup, considering the level of experience, considering the power that Canelo has to earn that respect of David Benavidez, I still would favor Canelo Alvarez going into this fight. I think it's really competitive. But, guys, consider David Benavidez has never fought anyone who fires back with that kind of potency, that kind of sharpshooting counterpunching ability, that kind of defense that'll make him miss.
And make him question himself, which will make him miss.
Once again, fighters who have never experienced someone like Canelo, Floyd Mayweather up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
He's the volume killer. They turn you into a much more tentative version of yourself. Okay, Benavidez is already a slow starter.
Right.
In my opinion, Canelo would be favored. That's the fight that you make if you're Canelo. Dude, put this guy to rest, this Dimitri Bivol. This is a guy who's going to want the lion's share of the purse when you guys start negotiating. Tell him to go get to stepping. Tell him to kick rocks. Brother, you don't need that. Negotiate with David Benavidez. Make that fight happen, damn it. That's the one that the fans want to see.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? You're not getting any younger. This is only going to continue. This is only going to get tougher as time goes on, damn it. Make the fight while you'd still be favored to win. That's all I have to say.
The only thing that is risky about Benavidez and is risky. It's going to be an exciting fight while it lasts.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that Benavidez has, I don't. I want to say he has better win, but we've not seen Benavidez, his win translate while he's getting hit for 12 rounds. We've only seen his win while he's hitting somebody like a punching bag and really not taking any punishment. But I'm going to give him the edge in endurance. So edge in endurance, edge in the number of shots thrown, that's the problem for Canelo. Canelo could conceivably be down in the first few rounds because Benavidez is controlling the action in that he's leading the pace and he's throwing more shots. Canelo's fighting off the back foot. Maybe he get a couple counters here and there, but Benavidez is going to be the one throwing his hands. Canelo going to keep the high guard and, like you said, have a ferocious counter attack whenever he does counter, but that's going to be far and in between for him to counter.
Well, with that said also, and this is a very good point. With that said, boy, Benavidez has a wicked hand speed, doesn't he?
Yep.
Oh, and you know what? They come from a very short place. He subscribes to the ideology that the quickest way from A to B is a straight line. They're very short, very compact. You know what? I love that. This is why everyone loves this matchup. Sign it up, Canelo. Come on, brother. You don't need Beevil again. You don't need that kind of ass whooping again, brother. I love this fight. Everyone needs to see it. And we need these kind of matchups, guys, where there isn't a heavily favored fighter in a pay-per-view. We need these even money fights. If you expect people to pay for this pay-per-view price and tune in, this is what you need to make, guys. Once again, we just saw the results when you do, right? That Davis Garcia matchup sold 1.2, 1 point. If there's an event that could rival that at this time, if not exceed it, it's Canelo Benavidez. Get it done, guys.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. I feel like that is I have said it's a matchup to make at super middleweight. So why not go ahead and put that together? Like, don't have all of this. Don't be wasting all this time about no back and forth. With Dimitri Bivol. Have Dimitri Bivol go ahead and face Alexander Gavazic, or finally get it in against Artur Beterbiev. We want that fight between Bivol and Beterbiev. And if Mauricio Suleiman has a little attitude about it, then just give up that WBC belt. We want the best versus the best there in 175 pounds. That's the thing we get here.
That's what's going to happen, guys. If you haven't already ascertained by now, right? Hopefully you've understood this. Listening to Brother James, listening to my channel, guys. The sanctioned organizations hold no clout once you get to a certain level. Once a fighter, look, the sanctioned organizations are great, and their purpose is served from fighters who have not yet established themselves in this business as a champion or a big ticket seller. Those are the ones who need the sanctioned organizations. Once you get to the level of an established champion like Bivol, like Beterbiev, like Canelo, like Benavidez, who gives a shit about the belts? Look, guys, the fighters, determine the stature of the titles, not the other way around. Okay? Once again, history remembers the matchups. James, once again, do you remember who fought? What title was on the line when Ernie Shavers fought Larry Holmes?
Nope.
Do you remember what title was on the line the first time Sugar Shane Mosley fought Oscar De La Hoya?
Nope.
Exactly. Guys, history remembers the matchups. Screw the belts. We want to see the best fight the best. And Boxing Academic, I'm going to ask you, brother, do you need a sanctioned organization to tell you who the best fighters in any one division are? James, answer that question then.
Joseph, ask that one more time. I switched to my headphones because I'm about to go
My
outside.
apologies, brother. Let me ask it again. Do you need, and it's a rhetorical one, but do you need any sanctioning organization telling you who the best fighters in any one division are?
I'm going to answer it. I think that answer would be, in a sense, biased. If they did tell you that, it'd be
No. I'm asking in your as well as you know the fight game.
Hey Joe,
yes, sir.
Real quick, could you carry that convo for a few minutes?
Yes, sir. As you were. Go ahead. Like, do you need as intelligent and as well informed as you are as a fight fan, which most of you guys are, almost all of you guys are? Do you really need Mauricio Suleiman taking you by the hand and saying, "Oh, you know what? Our title isn't up for this. Don't pay attention to that. This one, our title's on the line. These are the fighters you need to pay attention to." Do you need any one sanctioning organization telling you who the best fighters in any one division are? Absolutely not. You don't need them telling you who the best fighters in any one do. Dude, they're worthless. I don't know why everyone is so hung up on, oh, it's for this title. Dude, we already know who the best of the best are. Like, if Vasyl Lomachenko versus Devin Haney wasn't for a title, would it make the matchup any less scintillating for us? No. This is a thrilling matchup in which we know these are two of the best, if not the two best 35-pounders in the world. Right? That's what we need that's all we need to understand what kind of matchup it is. Guys, it's an insult. It's an insult from these sanctioning organizations saying, "Oh, we're going to pull our title. We're not going to sanction this. We're not going to justify this." Well, you know what? Screw you, brother. That just saves these fighters 3% tax. We don't need you. Like, dude, if Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol were to fight for no major world titles, would it make that matchup any less great? Absolutely not. And, you know, fans, you guys need to realize you don't need these bullshit trinkets to make a great matchup. You just need the willing fighters, the gallant warriors who take punishment for our entertainment. That's all you need. We don't need this shit. The titles are for fighters who have not yet established themselves in this business. That's it. We don't need them standing in the way of the great matchups being made. The fans are the real bosses of boxing. They're the ones who dictate the terms, not a sanctioning organization, not a promoter, not a network. It's the fans. Again, it's high time you guys realize what kind of power you guys yield. Am I wrong, Boxing Academic?
No, you are 100% correct.
That's it. I'll get off my soapbox now, brother. But you know, once again, like I'll tell you who does need the title, and we're going to move forward, brother, while we're still waiting on James. We're going to look forward to this weekend's events. Let's look at the first one coming up Saturday, May 13th from Stockton Arena in Stockton, California. And that's going to be Top Rank in your main event of the evening. Janibek Alim Anala makes his next title defense for the WBO middleweight championship, Stephen Butler. I will say this, once again, that's a fighter who has not yet established himself in this business. Janibek without the title. Would anyone give a shit if he were fighting on TV?
Hell no.
That's it. I rest my case, brother.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this fight, James?
Like I said, man, I mean, you know, I was there live to see Janibek, you know, what was that, November of 2021 against Hassan and Dom, right?
Uh-huh.
And, you know, that was there at, you know, the 160-pound limit. And we know about Hassan and Dom and him holding the belt, you know, sometime back, whatever it was. But for me, in that particular bout, I wasn't really all too impressed on Xander Beck at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had a couple of fights after that, against Denzel Bentley and Danny Diggum, and he'll get through this fight, fairly easily against Stephen Butler. But for me, it kind of like summarizes the middleweight division in a sense, in that it's not really all that eventful. Not there ain't that many matchups that could potentially take place outside of a couple of them. And those are mainly like internal bouts.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I think with Janabek, it's more of like he might just have that title for a while. I don't know if there's going to be, that many people out there within the middleweight division that they're going to put up there against him that could, really match up for him. Like Stephen Butler, right now is like, right, they're at number 6 in the division. So, for me, Zanabek gets to this particular fight, like I think like he could try to see if he could get a name on his resume. If he could pull off a fight against Beefy Smith, then
well, look, brother, this is the problem that he faces right now. He's not a big ticket seller, even with a title.
Right. Yep.
If you're an aggressive-minded fighter like Beefy Smith or Jaime Munguia, you don't want to go anywhere near this kid. He's spectacular. If he has an aggressive-minded opponent, he'll look like the best fighter in the world. But as we just saw against Denzel Bentley, a guy who's also a counterpuncher by trade, who doesn't have the title, and is going to say, okay, I'm going to stand here from mid to long range, and I'm going to force you to become the aggressor because I'm not the champ. I'm not the A side here. It's going to be up to you to force the action. Well, he looks very ordinary now, doesn't he?
They look like Teofimo Lopez against Sandor Martin, didn't it?
Very good observation, my friend. So that's the problem. And Janabek, brother, he couldn't sell out my living room on a Saturday night at this point. Everyone at Top Rank understands this, right? Why do you think it's a small? Why do you think it's such a small venue like the Stockton Arena?
Right.
He can't, dude. This is, look, for all intents and purposes, and James and I were talking about this off the air, guys. This is going to look like a paid advertisement for Haney versus Lomachenko pay-per-view.
Oh, they're going to push.
That's the only purpose for this card this Saturday night.
And man, I'm gonna count how many times they talk about that particular fight over the telephone. You probably hear about it like 10 to 15 times. Because that's the big one there for Top Rank, and that's the big one there for ESPN is Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko for the undisputed titles of 135. So. This is basically one of those, filler cards, those leading things.
With that said, brother James, it's actually first class compared to the Showtime card. Oh my word!
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but
in Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan, and yes, it is headlined by Rolando Rolly Romero versus Ismael Barroso. Yes, it was supposed to be Rolly Romero in there to fight for the world title against Alberto Puello, but Puello ended up getting caught with illegal substance, so clomiphene, and he got scratched from this particular card. And because the whole little back and forth about appeals and all that type of stuff with Ismael Barroso,
didn't I tell you, brother? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you the excuse he was going to use? This is a guy. Oh, guys, I was taking that because I We're trying to have a child, me and my young bride. We're trying to have a child. That's the only reason why I was taking clomiphene, which is understandably a fertility agent given to males who are have a low sperm count, right?
Low T level.
Yep, low testosterone level, right? Oh, guys, it wasn't taken to get an unfair advantage over my opponents. No, it was taken because we desperately want to have a child. Have a heart, guys. Overlook the fact that I'm a world-class athlete taking clomiphene. And you know what? It's a moot point that it raises the testosterone level while I'm working out. Shit. I told you he was going to use that, brother.
Yeah, yep. And so, now you have this thing here with this situation with Rolly Romero against Ismael Barroso. Barroso is there 24 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws from Venezuela, now residing in Miami. And he is there as the currently number one in the WBA.
Corruption. Excuse me.
They're 40 years old.
Built his magic wand. Yep.
They're at 40 years old. It's gonna be you're gonna hear a whole lot of expressions from Mr. Rolando Rolly Romero. So you will hear a lot of that.
Sounds like a chihuahua, doesn't he?
You will hear a lot of that in this particular bout. You have a co-feature bout of Francis Barthélemy against Omar Juarez.
Come on, Omar! Come on!
Me and Joseph talked about what was proposed initially in this fight card. We would have had Gary Antoine Russell against Kent Cruz, but that fight was scrapped due to an injury for Gary Antoine Russell. And now we have this bout here with Francis Barthélemy, who did lose to Gary Antoine Russell, against Omar Juarez. And you did talk about Juarez there, Joe. He is there out of Brownsville, Texas. Did have a good performance there against Austin Dulé in his last fight. Did defeat Ryan Cowboy Carl also last year. So we got to see if he's going to be able to go up there against Francis Barthélemy, who is a tough out for anybody.
Well, I will say this: Francis Barthélemy, Omar Juarez, he's a very aggressive-minded fighter, very good fighter, but keep in mind, guys, these Cuban exiles is accelerated, even with the accelerated age. If you're an aggressive-minded opponent for these guys, look out. You've got to do something to disrupt the timing and rhythm, right?
Yeah.
You've got to do something. Once again, I hope Omar Juarez understands that he's going to have to use an intelligent jab to close the distance. Otherwise, he's going to have that big left hand waiting for him. Just ask Gary Antoine Russell.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have an easy time, even though he got the knockout, and which was a bullshit stoppage, in my opinion. He didn't have an easy time against old man Francis. Boy, these Cuban exiles, they're very, very tricky if you're an aggressive-minded fighter. You can't just walk through the front door, guys. So unless he's ascertained and learned how to use a more intelligent jab, this could be trouble. This is a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah, something to definitely look out for there for Omar Juarez. But I mean, with it being on the card, I mean, this gives him a real good opportunity to, make a statement there in that super lightweight division. Like they got 4 fights total in the super lightweight division on this particular card out there, but all 3 that will be televised on Showtime are going to be super lightweight bouts. And the other one there is Barzan Akhmadov or Batir Akhmadov against Kenneth Sims Jr. That's the Akhmadov that did fall short against Alberto Puello for, at the time, the WBA super lightweight title there, where was a very close fight. A number of people thought that Akhmadov won that fight against Alberto Puello, but we ended up being on the short end there, and now he is on this card against Kenneth Sims Jr. There, who is up there like 29 out of Chicago, and
I like that matchup too, brother.
Yeah, that's going to be a very good one. But it's gonna, for me, it's gonna see like, all right, who's going to be the more skilled fighter in that particular matchup. So we're going to see who's going to be able to come out on top of there, because that is, one of those fights where it's like saying like, hey, the winner could, still be there amongst the contenders in the 140-pound division, and the other one, like the loser, will really take a serious step back there in the competition aspect there at 140 pounds. Like we, talk about a number of those fighters at 140 pounds already. Regis Prograis, Liam Perro. You got, the other world champions there in the division, and Sabril Matias. Josh Taylor, of course, has his fight with Teofimo Lopez coming up on June 10th. So we got a number of fights that are, definitely out there for the 140-pound division there. But, that is going to be one that's going to kind of like say, okay, who's going to still be amongst the contenders there at 140 before you get to that main event there with Rolly Romero against Ismael Barroso. So, and, that with that main event, like I said, I mean, Romero is just pretty much going to show out on that. And, he goes in there and he gets that particular win, man, then they're going to find a way. They'll probably end up having the same thing happen with, what ends up being the decision for Alberto Puello. If he ends up, keeping that WBA title, then Puello's still going to face Rolly Romero later in the year. But if he doesn't, then that's going to be a interesting little situation, because you still have, a whole lot of other things that the WBA will have to sort out. But, like Mr. Joe Herod kind of, insinuated there's something, little strange going on in the WBA in that little situation. Just to be
brother. Corruption. Look, man. Guys, just follow the trail. Look what happened earlier last year with the Gabriel Maestre situation.
Mm-hmm.
Where's he from? Who's managing him?
Mm-hmm.
Why did he continuously get the opportunities at his accelerated age and his low ranking? Why? Remember, this was the guy that was supposed to fight Amantes Staniones on the undercard of Spence Crawford last year. How did he get that? Now you've got a guy who's 40 years old, ranked number 35 in the world, okay, getting this assignment against Rolly Romero for 12 rounds in a main event. He hasn't fought for 12 rounds since 2019. How does he get this? Look where he's from. Look who his management is. That's corruption right there, guys. Gilberto Mendoza managing this. Like, once again, the head or the president of a major sanctioning organization has no business managing fighters. None. But this is the only reason why Ismael Barroso is getting this assignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And once again, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I know a big Charlie's coming, but I don't give a shit. That's the reality, guys. That's the reality. So once again, you heard it here first on the Boxing Source. Care of your brother Joseph Heron.
Like, here's the thing too about the Ismael Barroso, right? Okay, so you mean to tell me that he is there at number one in the rankings, right? When he had already lost to Batir Akmadov in the second, where he lost two of the last three fights in those instances, right?
Think about this, guys. Why isn't Akhmedov getting this assignment?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't Gary Antoine Russell getting this assignment?
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
And that's a good one also, right? With the thing with Akhmedov, right? Because usually, you know, what happens in like these cards is if, you know, an opponent, or in many senses a quote unquote B side, isn't able to be in that main event, if they have somebody in that card that's within the same division, they would just elevate them up to be the new opponent in the main event. So you could have had Akhmedov there in the main event, being the replacement opponent.
Much better fight.
You know?
Much better fight. Much more competitive fight.
And they do it. They did not do it. You know, but that also goes into the account of, you know, them having Barroso being number one in the WBA rankings. With
Rubbish.
It's
rubbish. Once again, further evidence, more evidence in what I stated earlier, that the sanctioning organizations today are absolute dog shit and unnecessary at this level.
Yeah. You can't get involved with fighters at any sense or at any point in, some detractors of the sport, have the whole little corruption word. They bring it up sometimes, over the years, but this pretty much, has taken the cake in reference to Ismael Barroso and, of course.
Yeah, look, James, everyone always accuses me of defending the sanction organizations or defending the referees, defending the State Athletic Commission, defending the judges religiously. Oh man, you're just a guy who makes excuses for bullshit. No, I just actually speak the truth and understand the business, right? But in no way, shape, or form can I defend this at all.
Yeah, like ain't no way you can defend it.
There's no defending this. Like, I have always been a boxing business sympathizer. Mm-hmm. And if I know the reality and it's just fan-driven bullshit and conspiracy theory, I'll call it out, right? Because I know the reality. I've been in this business for 20 years. But this, no defending this bullshit.
Yeah, man. There's no way to get around that. But, I mean, hey, you know one thing. I would just say this for the fight coming up on Saturday between Rolly Romero and Ismael Barroso. Hey, Rolly Romero better have a great performance, or at least have a knockouts, because if it's anywhere close.
Well, brother, look. Yeah, we're going to speak to Coach Bullet later on this week. And let me tell you, this guy is tailor-made for Rolly Romero. But then again, we said that John Ryder was tailor-made for Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah,
we'll see. Once again, guys, this is the theater of the unexpected, where anything can and often does happen in the ring.
Yep, that's true. That is true. So we shall see how that main event goes there between Barroso and Rolly Romero. And like I said, it's going to be a 3-fight card on Showtime there on Saturday, as it is broadcast from the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. There, down there in the Strip. I mean, that's a good little hotel too, to be honest with you. And also, of course, you have the fights on ESPN, headlined by Janabek Anim Halale.
Alim Anala.
Yanim Anala.
Yep, Alim Anala. Say it with me, guys. Janibek Alim Anala.
Anala.
That's it. Yep. And that's your paid advertisement for Haney Lomachenko on pay-per-view for the bargain basement price of $49.99, guys.
Yep. So we have that there coming up also next week. So that is the slate there of boxing action for y'all to look forward to there, and we will be, having our eyes open for those bouts, and we'll be able to properly assess them in the next episode of the Boxing Source Radio Show coming up on May 14th. But big thanks for Joseph Herron of War a Week Radio Network for joining us here, and also the Boxing Academic for being here on this particular podcast. We got through as many topics as possible within a 1 hour and 45-minute time frame. And big thanks for all of those that listening in here live, and also will be listening to the replay on YouTube and also on various audio platforms. And like I say at the end of every show, folks, point of boxing is to hit, not get hit, not to send and trade. On that note, folks, I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.